Hello, I'm Tamiriel.
And I'm Dion, and welcome to our channel,
Grateful and Growing. All right, today we're back for more.
Who raised you?
Now, on our last episode, we talked about adult children going no contact, and we had a lot of people to reach out and just wanted to know our story, if we had any type of experience with no contact. And so we're here back today to bring you our own stories because we have both had an experience with no contact with our families.
Right. So I'll go first.
Okay.
So as we had talked previously in the previous video, I did attend therapy when I was in high school, and I sought out therapy myself as an adult because I dealt with depression and just trauma from childhood. So there was a point I helped my mother create a business, and that business became the focal point, really, of our relationship. It became a huge stressor for me because it was a big business that cannot be done with one or two people. And so I was putting everything I had into that business, and every communication I had with my mother was about the business. There was nothing else. There's also the issue that I'm gay. I was a lesbian. And that was something because of religion that my mom she had a problem with. You know, she was programmed to believe that if you're gay, you're going to hell. Yeah. And so that was huge for our relationship because at one point she actually said to me to my face, "I can't love you." And that broke something in me, right? So during that time, those two things, the business and the homophobia, were two things that just had me in a chokehold. And so after therapy, and at some point I realized, in order for me to be able to grow and thrive, I'm going to have to cut some things out of my life and set up some boundaries. But this is my mama. You know what I'm saying? How do you set up boundaries with your mama when you were raised in a family that what mama said goes, and you don't question authority, and what goes on in this house stays in this house? And, so how do you even set up the foundation for that? And I was able to do that with the help of my therapist. And it wasn't my therapist telling me, you need to do this, you need to do that. What my therapist helped me to do was see where my injury was coming from, and even my role in it, because there were a lot of things that I let slide, that I shouldn't have let slide. I had to put on some big girl panties and say, hey, that's not okay. And I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn how to communicate my feelings in such a way that they could be heard. A lot of times I feel like we have so much hurt, trauma, and anger that when we try to communicate, it comes out like a fire. You know what I'm saying? And then the person on the other end is getting burned and they're not trying to hear you.
Exactly.
Right? So I had to learn how to communicate my feelings in such a way that I could be heard. And so in doing that, it was me explaining how this makes me feel. Okay? So when this happens, or when you say this, it makes me feel this way. And for this reason, I have to say, when this happens, I'm going to cut off the conversation. These are the boundaries I have to set for myself to keep myself safe and to keep my energy intact. And so I don't know that was understood immediately, the way I said it, but I had to maintain consistency, and that's hard to do when you're dealing with a parent. You might be able to get it out the first time, the second time, but eventually it's like, oh, okay, Mom, what? you know?
Right.
But I had to maintain consistency, and I did. And there was a time when I said, I can't talk about this. Like, I can't talk about the business. That triggers me. It causes me pain. It causes me trauma. And if you insist upon this course of action, I'm going to have to hang up the phone. And there was one time where I hung up the phone on my mama.
Okay. And that was your boundary.
That was my boundary, and it about killed me. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. For some families, that would have been the end all be all. I'm not talking to you no more. I'm not, that wasn't, luckily, thankfully, my case. Because first of all, my mama was not out to hurt me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She grew up the way she grew up, and she communicates the way that she communicates. And we both had to learn to grow together. The key was we were both willing.
So at what point did you have to cut her off? Or was your cutoff just that boundary that you were setting?
My cutoff was that boundary that I was setting.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my cutoff. I never completely cut her off and not going to talk to you. My cutoff was in the moment.
Okay.
So if we get to this moment where my peace is being disturbed, or I'm feeling trauma, pain, shots from you, then I've already explained to you what my response is going to be. I can't control your behavior, but I can control how I respond to it, right? And so then when it would happen the next time, I said, we're approaching that moment where I'm going to have to get off the phone. And in keeping that consistency and keep doing that, eventually she got it.
Okay.
And I almost remember the moment when she got it, because she said, well, I was going to say this, but I'm just not going to say it. And normally I would be like, well, what is it? What is it? And I had to stop myself from saying, what is it?
Yeah.
And what I did do was say, you know what? I appreciate that. I feel hurt. I feel like you are starting to understand where I'm coming from. And I appreciate you trying,
That's good.
Yeah. But we kept doing that back and forth until we got to a point where we weren't talking about just the business. We were talking about recipes. We were talking about aches and pains, life, talking about just mother-daughter stuff. And that was something that I really missed. So it can be done.
I do have 2 stories. I'm just going to give you a little bit of both. But I have had to cut some people off in my life. And the first one was my father. And I've gone a year now with no contact. But that was due to me being essayed as a young adult, or child, actually, as a child. Mm-hmm. And so, but all of my life, we never talked about it. It was that what happens in the house stays in the house. I never got any counseling for it. It was just never discussed after everything had came out, but we still continued to live in the same household. But as I got older and I got into therapy and started going through some things, and of course, as you start going through things that you think are happening right now, or the issues that are right now, they really kind of stem back from your childhood, because the way that you are raised and the things that you took in as a child, it is really that subconscious that you may not know. The subconscious is driving our emotions and the things that we do. So the childhood hurt began to come up. I never even discussed it with anyone until I was in therapy at the age of 50. I started therapy around age of 48. But at 50 is when it finally came up in therapy. And then we began to work through that. And as I began to work through it, there was a lot of emotions beginning to come up from it because I had blocked out all of this stuff. But as it came up, I kept asking myself if this would be something that I would ever have a conversation with him about. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even think I would ever be in a position to even talk about it, But the more therapy I had, the stronger I felt like I do need to kind of it wasn't even like I needed to ask why. It was more like I just needed to, because what is there really an answer when you ask someone, why did you take advantage of me, because that person is just sick.
Right.
They need help.
But maybe what you were looking for was some acknowledgement of fault.
Maybe, yes.
Because normally we bring it on ourselves.
Right.
We take it on ourselves and say, what did I do
to cause this?
Right.
And why was it me?
Right.
So when I finally got the courage to bring it up, he completely, I'm not going to say dismissed, but more like downplayed his role in what he had done to me. And so because it had taken me so long to get my courage up to even bring it up, and then you downplay it, it's like, well, it wasn't that bad, or I didn't do this, or I didn't do that.
Ooh,
what,
baby?
What? Like what? And I could not get beyond that. And even on the phone while I was talking, I kind of lost my words while I was listening to what he was saying, and I began to remind him of some specific situations. You don't remember this? You don't remember this? You don't remember this? And there's a lot of things that I've blocked out as well, because I don't remember every detail, but I remember enough. And then after, of course, he apologized on the phone, but it doesn't discount the fact that you just try to downplay what you've done to me.
Right.
And so after I got
I think what you really needed in that moment was for him to take responsibility.
Yeah. Right.
And he did not.
And so even though he apologized, there was just like something just washed over me. And after I got off the phone that night, I'm not going to say I knew immediately, but I knew I wasn't going to talk to him for a minute, because I was feeling some type of way. Like, how do I even look at him again? How do I even talk to him again? How does this even go from here? But this is my father, And the longer I went, he would keep calling, and then I was just like, I can't answer the phone. I don't have anything to say. I don't want to hear anything you got to say, and I don't have anything to say. So at that point, I just stopped. Will I talk to him again? I don't know. And I'm not putting any constraints on myself to say you need to talk to him by a certain time. Whenever my spirit feels, or if my spirit comes to peace with, it's okay to have a conversation, because I'm not going to be triggered by something he says or does. Then we may have that conversation. But when that time happens, I believe my soul will know. And when my soul knows, that'll be the moment. And if it never happens again, I'm okay with that. I mean, because that's just where I am. And then my second person was my cousin, because of this situation. I was putting some of my feelings out on TikTok about, I wasn't even going deep into how I felt and the things that I have gone through. But I did mention the fact that I had been essayed by my father, and just talking about different things in this 1-minute clip. And my cousin had the nerve to call me and tell me that if I had kept it a secret all this time, that I needed to keep it to myself. It didn't make no sense that I was now at the age of 52 talking about something that happened. Your mom and them done took care of you, and it don't make you got a therapist. Why you got to talk to TikTok? Like, you don't know who I am, okay? You obviously don't know who I am. And so I said what I needed to say back to her, and then I blocked her. And I told her at that moment, I don't have anything else to say to you. How would you, as someone that has also had this done to you, get in your right mind to tell me that I don't have a right to tell my story because my mama was a good mama? What does that have to do with my story? So you can feel how you want to feel, and you can lose my number. You can act as if I do not exist, because we have nothing else to talk about. Don't try to discount my story because you don't agree and you want to keep your stuff secret. That's on you. Let me live and do what I need to do. Let me heal and be where I need to heal.
Right.
And I don't got time. So if anybody comes into my life that disrupts my peace, I don't care who you are. I'm not that person anymore. Everybody's story is not going to look the same. Everybody is not going to be able to do what everybody else is. But I do believe these stories help us. As we hear other people's story,
absolutely,
we hear everybody else's journey, we may not go about it the same way, but it does give us courage to know that we can survive, we can move through it, and we can heal.
Yes. And by telling our stories, we give other people the permission to tell their stories and heal.
Yep.
Yep.
So as we wrap it up on today, just remember,
the destination is the journey.